Hey everyone, I wasn't really expecting to go live today at all, but Patrick messaged me on Instagram and wanted to see the Darkness of Light tarot. And just to let you all know, I might kill two birds with one stone. I don't have any prompts for it. Dang it. I was going to do what was it, the Thunder spread or whatever Thunder spread and just kind of do Evelyn's Thunder hashtag, but I just have my phones and stuff downstairs, and this is really just the spur of the moment live chat because my husband really doesn't want me to be that long, and I don't want to be that long because of my husband, and the kids are asleep. You gotta understand. The only reason why I'm doing these kind of live events and stuff sometimes is because people are asleep, kids are asleep. I don't have to do anything. All right. What are my first impressions of the deck? And I did shuffle it, so unfortunately they're not necessarily going to be in order. And it comes with a little cute bag. It comes with a one of these bags drawstring bags that I think I have right over here. Kind of like one of these drawstring bags, like from, what was it, Usi. Usi from Usi Studios, they have these drawstring bags, and this bag is kind of like that, but it has that back on it. It has that wolf head back on it. Those are the back of the cards. I just edged them today, so they don't come edged black, but I edged them black just today. And I noticed that it does have like a fresh out of the box smell or chemical smell a little bit on the card. And that's not from the highlighter either, even though I've noticed that, not highlighter, but the Sharpie either. And I usually don't usually have that kind of toxic-y smell with a Sharpie. But what I might do is get my smudge stick and just kind of just do this with the cards with the smudge. I might actually do that now since nobody's on. Hold on 5 seconds. Of course, all my lighters and the crap are downstairs. Merde, as they say in French. Uh, shoot, 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 shoot. Aha. Here I am going to be in front of you all, setting my cards on fire. Not really. This is kind of how I warm up my smudge stick. I just kind of let it go around. And let the embers really take hold. I think you could hear the blessings already. Smudging is one of my favorite ways to cleanse anything, especially if something has like a rotten smell or a chemical smell. I like to take a smudge stick, just kind of really bake it. There we are. We got good vibrations going. But yeah, this is kind of what the card looks like. And I'm going to try not to put it in the flames. But I will try to smudge a little bit as I go because the cards do have like that chemically smell. They're very, very beautiful cards. I think he did a good job on the deck. However, I think that I'm not sure if it's photoshopped, photo manipulated, or he actually painted the deck. because, or a combination of everything too, because he, in his note that he had with the deck, with my version of the deck that I purchased from him from his site, I only got the box and got the drawstring bag. I didn't get any of those extra add-ons. I didn't get those, what did he have? It was like that starter, not really a starter kit, but like one of those altar kits with his deck. Sorry. Here I am going to smudge my cards, and I'm going to have a hard time talking about it. But the images are very, very Rider-Waite, but he is, I kind of sympathize with him a lot, because he said that he did this process all himself. And I am, if many of you know, or a few of you know, making my own tarot deck, and I kind of, taking my notes as I'm buying other people's tarot decks that are independently published, because I'm just taking note of the card stocks other people use. I take notes on publishers other people use, creative processes, and whatnot. And this is a beautiful card there. I love him. And I've noticed the people in this deck, and that's something I'm going to take note of too, as first impressions. This is really kind of a first impressions live talk about this deck. That the peoples in this deck are very, I'm not saying they're average Joe, but they're not pretty people either. They kind of remind me of the everyday body types, everyday kind of attractiveness and people. I guess it is average Joe, it's just kind of the average Joe. But they're not like old to middle-aged to young kind of average Joe. They're kind of more geared towards the ages of, I'd say, 20 to 35 years old, maybe even 40. The age group is kind of very small, but I feel like that it's not in a bad way either, meaning that there's still a lot of body types and stuff. But I love this card. This was one of the cards that really drew me to the deck. I haven't really used this deck yet, and I was going to use this deck for the Thunder hashtag tarot, the Thunder Spread tarot hashtag that's been going around. I just decided to go live randomly because Patrick said he wanted to see this deck, and so I said, okay, I'll show off this deck. I was not expecting anybody to show up live anyway, so it's okay. But it's very Rider-Waite. I don't know how else to comment on it or say about it. I would say more about it if I had some people to bounce off of tonight, but it's completely alright. This is just solely first impressions. I actually have not done a reading with it yet, even though I shuffled it. This is, I think, my favorite, one of my favorite cards so far, is like the Four of Wands. Like the more Pippi cards in this deck is like where it really is beautiful. And here I am smudging my deck. And it's starting to take away a lot of that chemical smell. When a certain deck has that chemical smell, and I highly recommend anybody to try this out, it's just a kind of smudge. Just smudge along. Smudge along. Keep on smudging. And it also is a good way to cleanse your energy in your decks too, even though I don't do this with every deck I get. This is one of my favorite cards too. This was a beautiful card. The ones with the less people and more imageries is the ones that I like usually, but I like this card. This is one of my personal cards, though. I guess it does have diversity. I just have my first initial reaction to the deck was it didn't have too much diversity, but now that I'm kind of flipping through with you guys and kind of walking through this deck with you guys, I'm kind of seeing that there's a lot more diversity in this deck than I thought there was. And hello, person, whoever logged on. I don't know who it is, and I don't know if you could respond, that's fine. But I'm just kind of flipping through a deck and kind of smudging it as I go. I really love this card, too. This one, I like a good Rider-Waite deck. I do. I do like a good Rider-Waite clone. Hi, Miss Paula. I do like a good Rider-Waite clone every once in a while because sometimes a really good Rider-Waite clone is like a breath of fresh air. I have been into a Rider-Waite collecting frenzy like most other people here on social media. And I really love this World card. And I noticed something else too, that all the titles in this deck are French. So he has French titles for in the majors, which I think is really classy. I really like something different, something new, something different. But yeah, a lot of us here are on social media or on YouTube have, or even in the tarot community, has been buying a lot of Rider-Waite decks. More specifically, the Pamela Coleman Smith Rider-Waite decks, and we buy all these decks and we like to compare the colors and contrast. But sometimes when you have decks like this deck, which is inspired by her structure and her art, it's kind of like that. I could appreciate what she was trying to say in her deck without having to buy 5 Rider-Waite Smith decks sometimes. And I could totally, it's a way, I think also having a Rider-Waite clone like this is also a way of honoring that Rider-Waite tradition and honoring that Rider-Waite memory. Miss Paula, I'm just letting you know, I'm flipping through the cards and kind of smudging as I'm going to. And these just quite literally came in the mail today, and I have not worked with it yet, so this is not really a deck review. This is just kind of a flip through, and I'm just kind of smudging as I'm going along because the decks have like a chemical smell. I like to get it really smoky with the smudge. And here I am going to burn up the cards. I really love the cup suits because they all have this like this lily flower with the cup suits. And I like that the Fool and some of the majors are like that dark theme. And then I like the swords being like the winter theme. I love this Hermit card. He's like overlooking the city. This is like one of those all-time favorite Hermit cards, actually. I think this guy is up there with the Hermit from the Terror of the Tattoo Age, because I love that. He has his cane and his lantern and his stars. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Oh, and I don't think I talked about the cardstock yet, and the cardstock is fantastic. It's kind of like that plastic laminate cardstock, but it's kind of like that U.S. game system cardstock where it's like the 350 400 GSM part stock, and it's just absolutely divine. And it actually had white borders, edges, I should say, what, not white borders, white edges on the deck, but I went in with the Sharpie. Just kind of, this one's a beautiful card. Absolutely gorgeous. Love the mountains in the background. I'm going to try to walk through it a little faster. Very beautiful. There's something very meditative about this deck. Can't quite put my fingers on it. I love him. He was amazing. I love that card. I was a little hesitant, to be honest. Miss Paula, I think that's the who's on right now. To be quite honest, I was very hesitant pre-ordering this deck or buying this deck, and I'm glad that I did, because there's so much more to it than just being a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, I feel, just as I'm walking through with you. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful deck. Very, very beautiful. This is going to be a very smudgy video once it's all done and published. But I think it looks wonderful with the smudge lying in the background of this deck. I've also noticed that the theme of the characters in this deck are very Celtic, Northern Celtic, like a Scandinavian. I'd almost want to say Viking or Norse theme, but I think the more appropriate term would be Scandinavian or Celtic. Ooh, that one kind of flew out a little bit ashes right there. I'm trying not to burn my house down too while I'm smudging. Patrick, you better come on, jump on right now. He just said pretty please on Instagram. You better come on right now. Patrick made me go live, by the way, Miss Paula. He said, oh, I want to see this deck. I want to see this deck live. And I'm like, okay, you gotta jump on, Patrick. You gotta come on to see this deck. I already went through halfway through like 20 minutes of the video. And I see we have a second person that just jumped on, and I wonder if that is Patrick. Such a beautiful deck. And if it is Patrick, what cards would you want to see? Oh. Hopefully I could do a reading or several card draws with this deck. I don't know the prompt to that Thunder hashtag, and that was what I was going to really do with this deck. I liked her, and I noticed that she looked almost pregnant in this image here of the Queen of Cups, and I really liked that. I don't usually see the Queen of Cups being like a pregnant figure, but I really think that's elegant, and it looks very beautiful, especially with the waves and her outfit and her carrying this lotus flower above her. I'll give Patrick a few more minutes. I love the use of the pinks and the purples here in the lawn suit. That was something that was totally beautiful when I noticed the first impressions of the deck too. And I like vulnerability in a deck, or I like nudity in a certain deck sometimes because I like vulnerability or the being open and free. Sometimes it does read very strongly in a deck or in cards when you see nudity in cards. I think, but that's my personal opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own. I think that's a beautiful card. I think the wand suits and the sword suits are very elegant in this deck. I love the wands because the wands have these beautiful pink colors and these beautiful sceneries, like the almost a spring kind of scenery, and the swords have like that winter theme. In this deck definitely he did a good job keeping to like the winter, summer, fall, spring, and this is very beautiful. Oh my god. It's getting really smoky in here. But it's good to sage. It's good. It cleans the air. I'm already feeling the energy definitely changing. I was feeling a little bit blue, but now I think my energy's kind of definitely sparkles. I love how he included the goat, and the goat is a reference from the Thoth Tarot, and the bunny is referenced from the Rider Waite Smith. If you aren't familiar with Thoth imagery, I really liked his pumpkins in this, or the harvest. Just a tower card. and the dog for the son. I like that it's not a naked baby for sure. And that's the last card of the deck. And I'm sorry for whoever just popped on that I just already completely walked through the deck. I can stay on for a little bit more, a few more minutes and talk about the Dark Mist Tarot a little bit, but I really just got it today, so it's kind of hard for me to give a very fair review or a very fair input about this deck. Just look at that Lover's card. It's amazing. I'm feeling very sagey now that we got the sage going. With my abalone ball. And there's a funny story with this particular abalone ball. And it's actually kind of funny. It has to do with family heritage. This belonged to my not great grandmother, but my grandmother or grandfather, and my grandmother stole it from him. My mom stole it from her, and I stole it from my mom. So it's been a tradition that it's been going through generation to generation, actually being stolen by the next person. Here we are. We got some sage going. So what kind of, we could do some readings with this deck. Would be willing to do a card draw or some readings with this deck. Just to give it a good go. And I'll show you how it shuffles so that I'm terrible at shuffling sometimes. Just a disclaimer. Since nobody's asking for a reading, I'll just go ahead and pull a few cards to show you what it would look like in a spread. I don't know if this... Okay, I think this pad could do it while it's live. Sometimes I've noticed things can get very persnickety with technology when you're trying to flip the camera over facing down and things like that, or facing it all around. So let's see about trying a few spreads. I'll show you what a 5-card spread will look like. I'm not going to do any particular questions, but I'll show you what it will look like. Alright. Kind of mind you that the cards that the way that I do a 5-card spread is kind of stylized. You know, you just kind of dip down and all that stuff. So I'll see if I can flip the camera down without losing everything alive. Okay, I didn't lose everybody, so that's great. This is kind of what a 5-card spread would look like. Get the camera to focus any better than it is. It's kind of terrible because I'm holding my pad and I'm trying to show you what it would look like in a 5-card spread without shaking the camera image way too much. So that's kind of what a 5-card spread would look like. Hold on one second. Kind of keep the sage going, keep them good vibes rolling, and we'll kind of demonstrate with the same kind of cards what a Celtic cross would look like. The one thing that I've noticed that he didn't do is add a guidebook or a keyword book to this deck. I don't know if in the bonus editions that he had of this deck, or like that the limited edition pack where he had like the Obsidian, Black Obsidian, things like that. If he had a guidebook or anything like that with the deck, but I just know from what I have, I just got the cards and the pull string bag, so there was nothing that came with the deck, nothing that talks about the symbolisms or the artistic um, expressions or anything like that. But I'll definitely try to remember when this live chat thing is done to link his website somewhere on the video or somewhere in the video in a footnote or wherever's, and try to show his website, and maybe he has things more on his website than he does on that came with the deck. Because I know from me, let me tilt the camera down one more moment. I know for me that when I'm making my own deck right now, that it's kind of hard to write a full guidebook, and you're painting your own tarot cards, you're doing your own thing. This is kind of what a Celtic cross would look like. I usually don't read with Celtic crosses, but I figured that some people would love to see what it would look like as a Celtic cross, or as a, some different kind of spreads. Because sometimes I know that when I'm looking for a deck, that I like to see the cards all laid out and how it would all interwork and interplay with each other a little bit. This has definitely been a very beautiful little deck, for sure. I'll do one more spread, and then I'll ask if I would probably draw a card to end the reading, or the not the reading, but end the video. Yeah, the sage definitely helped the cards with their chemical smell a little bit. They did have a little bit of a manufactured smell, which is not the creator's fault. It's kind of the publisher. If it's right hot off the press, sometimes, and it's not sitting into like a storage space or something like that for a while, then sometimes it could get that kind of musty chemical smell. I have to say, when I got my Deviant Moon, I don't know if it still smells that way. Let me see if it still smells that way. No, it doesn't smell that way anymore. But when I cracked open the box of my Deviant Moon, this one, not Deviant Moon, but the Triomphe de la Lune, that as soon as I opened the box, it was like, whew, hit me. It was like cigarettes. It smelled like cigarettes, but I knew it probably wherever the decks came from, the person was not a smoker, and it might have been the fault of my local postal people, because they are not very conscious about smoking in my area. They're very pro tobacco where I live. Virginia, even though they've banned tobacco in 2010 officially in restaurants and things like that, it's still very heavy. I think it's statistically the number one state still for smokers to live in, which is very intriguing. It's still very, very socially acceptable here in Virginia, where I live in Virginia, to be a smoker. And it's kind of surprising that the times have not caught on here in Virginia. When I was living in Florida, it has been a known smoking state for quite some time, whereas Virginia, it was more recent where they stopped the smoking in public areas. So it might not be Patrick Fluenza's fault. It could be the fault of my mailman. It's just smoking in the cab. Shame. Shame, shame, shame. Alright. Let me go ahead and do a 3-card reading. Does anyone have any questions about this deck or anything like that before I do a closing reading at all? Because I'm willing to answer any questions at the time, but just mind you, whatever questions you do ask, I'm going to not give a full opinion about this deck until much later, until I do a walkthrough or a proper review of this deck. This one's the Darkness of Light Tarot, Miss Paula. This one is one of the, I think the creator, I found him on Instagram. He was a person that I was following on Instagram since, I wasn't following him that long, and I just only saw a few images on Instagram. And yeah, it's the Darkness of Light Tarot. Yeah, this way. I don't know if it's doing it backwards in the pad or not. But yeah, he's a independent deck creator, and I think he told me had the publishing company on this box. Yes, he did. Wavelight Laboratory Publishings, and I'll have to check them out myself for my own deck, because if things didn't work, okay, good. Because if things don't work out well with my own deck and MakePlayingCards.com, I'm gonna have to check out some publishers and things like that and get my deck and I see what the options are for my deck. And I really would love to have PlayingCards.com for my personal deck that I'm making myself. But I do understand that things happen and things get too expensive, or you want more bells and whistles and it's just way too expensive to add those bells and whistles later on. But yeah, he's his own deck creator. I think he's his own artist, his own, I believe, but I'm not 100%. I believe he's his own artist. I believe he's his own creator of this deck. And he said that he's been working on this deck for 2 years or so. So he's been working on this deck for a little while now. And he had it in his hand typed letter that he wrote with the deck. That it was definitely a deck where it's a labor of love. And I probably should have done something else than Sage here, but I just love the way that Sage looks in video, in the smoke, and the little smoky in the atmosphere. This whole room is now all smoked up with Sage. It's wonderful. But yeah, it is I think it's a really good deck. It's not his fault either, because he has to make some sort of money back for making the deck. For a Rider-Waite-Smith clone like this deck is, it's such a shame that it was still out of some people's price range. $45 is not a lot to a lot of us tarot collectors. Don't get me wrong. $45 is not a lot for somebody like me, Kelly. Well, it is, but if we're an avid tarot collector that is going to buy the deck anyways, it's not a lot of money, because we usually spend money on more expensive decks. But it really is a shame that this deck is not able to be more price friendly and probably mass produced to be more price friendly than it is for what it is. Because it is a great deck. Don't get me wrong. It's not that it's not a good deck. It's just I feel like it's very close to a Rider-Waite system, to the kind of like the Witch's Tarot, kind of like the. I hate to do that to Deck Reader too. It's like you're comparing their deck to something that is mass produced, and so that's terrible. I feel terrible. It's like I dig myself a hole. I did. But yeah, this deck is still like $45 and still out of quite a few people's price range for. But it's such a well-made deck. It's better than any Llewellyn deck. It's better than any kind of cardstock-wise. It's better than Llewellyn's, and it's so much better than U.S. Gaming System or Los Scarabeo, in my opinion, because something that's made out of love like this or like something else definitely has, you could feel the heart and soul in it more than just superficial mass-produced deck. I feel the heart and love in it energetically, because, and I think that's what it is. When you're an empath or intuitive, and you're an intuitive person, you definitely feel the more love and the intention in a deck than just, oh, it's another Rider-Waite clone deck. And I hope that light shines as the deck goes out to these different people in the tarot community. It smells like Sharpie still, but at least it doesn't have that chemical smell. Ah, my sage went out. Alright, no further ado. Let's go ahead and see about burning some more sage. I'm doing some card draws. I know that Patrick is going to watch this video later. And when he does, I want him to see my Lododite. Look at that beautiful stone. It's called Lododite, or yeah, I think that's what it's called, Lododite. It's supposed to have different iron minerals in it, and it's a quartz. Don't get me wrong. It's a fancy word for a mutt. It's a quartz with other additives in it, but it has, looks like the bottom of the ocean, with the iron and calcium at the bottom, and that's what's making that beautiful oceanness to it. And I like to look at it. And I got this as my new scrying stone, by the way. I don't do very well with crystal balls. I've been trying so hard and desperately to scry into crystal balls, and I love collecting crystal balls and things like that, don't get me wrong. But I find that stuff with little indentations and stuff has such a beautiful, definitely has an unworldly quality in it. Definitely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I had to show you my Lododite there for a second. Let me do some card draws, or if anybody wants a quick little reading with my new Darkness of Light Tarot, I will be glad to do a reading or two for whoever's on. Because I apparently can just sit here and talk for a little while. But this, I probably, oh shoot. Sometimes that happens, is when you shuffle and you bend a card. And that's one of the curses of frightful shuffling sometimes. Is you bend a card up in a funny sort of way, and I had to fix it. So yeah. This deck I'm probably going to stick to overhand shuffling a little bit. I usually overhand my shuffle my independently published decks anyways. And this is a perfect deck size for overhand shuffling, so. So how was your all's day? Did you guys get any new tarot decks in recently, or some very new additions to your tarot collection? I would like to hear that, because that would be really cool to talk about. This was one of those spur of the moments, adding to my deck collection kind of deck. I was surprised how fast this one came in. I know that they were talking about, like, Embrace the Moon yesterday just posted on her Instagram that she just got the deck yesterday night, and she's like, wow, that's fast. And I'm like, yeah, that is fast. And then I got mine today, and I'm like, wow, that was fast. Yeah, it is kind of fast. Okay, let's go ahead and do some 3-card draws. Alright. Oh, and I got my favorite hermit card too. My new favorite hermit card. Oh, man. And sometimes gotta make sure the energy's flowing, you know? Just gotta keep it going. Keep it moving. Alright, the 10 of Blades. And he's kind of stuck there in a rut. Kind of trapped, or he feels like he's trapped. And nailed down by his thoughts and mental place in his life. So he's kind of nailed down by his, and overweighed by his thoughts and his intellect. Things that are going on in his head right now. Things that are mentally going on, and he's just not seeing any way out at the moment. And that's kind of how some of us will feel when we're in bad times. And when we're in bad times, we love to dote on the bad things and let it completely destroy us. When we gotta tell ourselves we can't let it completely ruin us, and we can't let it completely destroy us. And that's one of my favorite keywords that Aleister Crowley did use for the kind of a Rider-Waite-Smith keyword that he did use for the Ten of Swords, is ruin. And you may feel ruined. You may feel like you're beaten down, torn down, and you have nowhere else to go and no one else to help you. But you always got to remember that it's a state of mind, not a reality. This is in your head. This is not your reality. And what she says, that we're not even looking about the good things, but we're always focused on the rotten things. Kind of like him, in a way, you know, in a state of mind. But this is more emotional, because cups are more emotional in like that feeling like you're in the rut. But you're always looking at the bad things sometimes, but never always the good things. And the emotional bad things does happen, and it does weigh on your mind. But you don't have to let it kill you. And you don't have to let it overtake you. You just have to learn some carpe diem sometimes. And Hermit says that we could get through all this with some soul searching. And what is really important to us. What we really need to know in this moment. So, look inside yourself. And that's I feel like he's like the advice card from all these two cards. Sometimes you have to search within and know what's really important. Is being home all day, getting caught in the rut, letting life overtake you, the best way to handle a situation? Or is it not the best way to handle a situation? And you can still feel these feelings, and you can still feel these mental blockages, and you could still feel it, and that's what the hermit says. You could stay where you are and still feel that feeling, but maybe you should look within. Maybe even do something like look outside of yourself a little bit. Maybe do some gardening. I do a lot of gardening lately, and that's been my healing grace. I've been doing a lot of uh, painting, art, self-expression, and that's also been a healing grace too, or saving grace. And I just feel like that you kind of have to know what's important. Just know what you need to do for yourself to take care of yourself. And this knowing is going to redeem you. And that's a beautiful message for today. Don't let life kill you and get you down and keep you in an emotional array when you have good things happening. And I'm so glad that the hermit showed up because I really love him. Oh my god. Awesome. And that smoke really looks really cool when it goes into the cards like that. Just mind you that the sage stick is sitting in the thing. It's not even close to this. But it looks really cool when it does that. Looks like a cool Instagram picture to me. I'm terrible. When you're doing some spiritual things, you can't always do Instagram. But there's a spiritual moment, we gotta Instagram it sometimes. I do find that's the problem with Instagram nowadays. It's like, we're having a moment here, let's Instagram it. No, not every time we can Instagram it. Sometimes we can just share it on live chats. Or sometimes we can just share it with each other. Now, Patrick snoozes and he loses. And he didn't show up for this live chat of my darkness, the Darkness of Light Tarot. Flip through and walk through and first impressions, thoughts, and things about this deck. And I hope he can watch this playback, or if people want to watch this playback, that would be cool. And thank you, Miss Paula, for joining me for this little chitty chat and showing you a new indie deck or a new deck that I've just got today in the mail. Is there anything else would you like to see or want to know about this deck before we go? Is my last closing words since we did our reading. I haven't decided if I want to store the deck in the box or in the drawstring bag. Drawstring bag. It goes in so much easier. There we are. That is beautiful, Wolfie. 2 wolves, actually. And this beautiful little tuck box is gonna kind of go right back under where it goes. I think you're the only one with me. My pad says that there's another person watching the live chat, but I've not seen them comment anything on the video. So, as far as I know, you're the only one that has been commenting, and you're the only one that's been with me, Miss Paula. But I can also spy on my thing a little bit, and they said that they had one other person, and at one point we had a third person, and they didn't comment on the video, so I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know if people have in spy. No, it's okay, Miss Paula. If it was, it's okay sometimes. Is there anything else would you like to see, Miss Paula, before I go? It's could be real quick. Or it could be not. I don't. Okay, so you're not usually a commenter. You just like to watch other people's. That's fine. Well, Miss Paula, let's go ahead and wrap up this live video. And you have a good day. Blessed be. And hopefully this sage will definitely enlighten your soul today. And I'm sending positive vibes to you, sending positive vibes to the deck, sending positive vibes to the universe. Blessed be, and I hope other people will come and join me on another live chat, and have a good one.